Ever heard. All right, so now let's break down the front stage. So currently my mid bass is in the doors. Yes, I know it's become very popular to say mid bass in the doors sucks, but to tell you the truth, it's really not all that bad. The key with mid bass in the doors is to go balls deep with sound deadening. So the biggest improvements from today and 6 months ago is that 6 months ago I blew the Milli Pro 6.5 mid bass. I blew it because the shop I took my system to tuned the mid bass and set the crossover down to 35 hertz, which is absolutely stupid. Obviously, it lasted me about 2 to 3 weeks before it smoked. So that's when I decided I gotta learn, I gotta educate myself, because shops charge so fucking much and they do shitty, careless installs and work. No offense to a lot of the good shops and good tuners out there, which I know exist, but realistically, in my area, I have had nothing but bad experiences. So I was forced to learn and capacitate myself on how to tune a DSP. However, no matter how good you are at tuning, your system's only going to sound as good as your install allows it to. So as I was saying, 6 months ago, I blew the 6.5 Milli Pro. I didn't have the money to buy another one, so I had to cop out and get a 8-inch Hertz SPL woofer, which did not fit on the actual door. So I had to cut a hole on the door card, this plastic part here, and mount that mid bass on the door card. You could only imagine how many buzzes, rattles, how much vibration, and how much boominess it produced. Luckily, now, 6 months later, saved up, and I went full 3-way with the Melee speakers. If you go back, you'll notice that previously I had the Milli Legend tweeter, which I still have, but I had the Audison Voce mid-range. Why did I have the Voce mid-range? Because again, the shop that tuned my system set the crossover so low on the 3-inch Milli Pro that it over excurted and it failed. It blew, mechanically damaged. So again, another reason why I was forced to learn how to do this myself. I may not be able to install or do custom fabrication at a high-end level or even a mid-level, but when it comes to DSPs, that's where I have grown so much, and I'm proud of myself for that. If I can do it, I know a lot of you guys out there can definitely do it. So anyways, back to saving the money to go full 3-way. This Milli Legend mid bass, it's awesome. It really is. It is a Neo. It has a good frequency response. It has a FS of about like 40 hertz. Obviously, I don't cross it down that low, but the output is insane. Now that I have deadened my door, gone crazy with it, I have originally that same shop that installed my system the first time, they put one layer of some off-brand deadener on the inner cavity of the door, and that was it. I had asked them for a 3-layer, one layer on the cavity, one layer on the outside, and a layer of acoustic foam on the back of the door card. I was fooled into thinking that's what I paid for, but nope. So anyways, I got a layer of off-brand in the doors. Once I was able to educate myself and learn to do things the right way, I bought Resonix Mega CLD, which is fucking insane. That thing is thick. It is hard to work with because of how thick it is, but it's a blessing because now my mid bass, it sounds very clean, very tight. It's very impactful. It doesn't sound boomy or muddy. A ton of the resonance from the door has been minimized, mitigated. So again, you got to go crazy with deadener in the doors to have a good mid bass. You can always go better, get better mid bass when you mount it in kick panels, when you go sealed or IB. But for my truck, my budget, my install capabilities, having the mid bass in the doors right now it sounds pretty good, and it's made a massive improvement from what I used to have. So again, there's a layer of off-brand deadener, a layer of Resonix Mega, and then I also have another layer of Resonix Mega on the top part of the door, and I have Resonix Mega behind this door card along with some acoustic foam on the door card. I also have the foam rings that go around the speaker to transfer as much energy outwards as possible, along with a foam backing or padding behind the mid bass. If I had the money, I would have got the Resonix, I believe it's called the Fiber Mat and Guardian, which it just absorbs acoustic energy, you know, like the back waves that the mid bass produces, which also helps silence and kill more buzzes and rattles. But right now the door is solid. I've never gone this crazy with deadener. I'm talking a lot about it because it's such a key factor in the way your system's gonna sound. Distortion is so big, it's so important to reduce, because this way people will spend thousands on high-end speakers, but they won't spend a couple $100 on properly sound treating, sound deadening your vehicle. Make that make sense? It makes no sense, in my opinion. In my experience, first thing I bought was the subs. Second thing I bought was the full range amp, then the DSP. But realistically, what I should have done is spent a ton of money on deadener first. But you know, you're excited, you want to play music, you want to hear what it sounds like, but you're not going to get the best sound that you can get until you mitigate those resonances. So it's critical. Even on my dash, you can't really see, but I have Resonix Mega across the entire dash. That quieted the engine and on the inside of the cabin a bit, and the exhaust, because I do have an exhaust on the truck. So shout out to Nick, amazing product. Honestly, one of the best, if not the best product on the market. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about mid bass and the doors. Another reason why it's not very popular, or a downside if you will, is the typical driver side null. You're gonna have a dip in your frequency response, I'd say between 100 and 150 hertz, simply because the mid bass is pretty much shooting at your leg. So the reflections and also the distance between one driver and the other, it's gonna give you those bad reflections. So when people move the mid bass up in the kicks, obviously the kicks are solid. There's gonna be almost zero vibration going to your doors, which is gonna mean an overall quieter system, less distortion, better sound. But something that's very popular in Europe, it's getting a lot more popular here in the States these last few years, is the infamous front sub. So what a front sub can do is take a lot of that lower frequency energy, take it away from. So from my understanding, what a front sub can do